So at some point in time, you decided to become a full-time musician and artist, and we
Yeah.
mentioned over 250 shows a year. I'm also a touring musician and an artist, by far one of the busiest in East Texas. So I do have a few questions in this vein that I definitely want to hear from your perspective. If you guys are just tuning in to my content, I'm a very inquisitive guy. That's why this all started happening. So when I see somebody on stage, I start formulating questions in my mind, even if I don't get an interview with them. It's just the way I am. But first one I want to talk about is you're also a father and a husband, and very passionate father and husband as well. Very important to you. I
Yeah.
know that very much. So what's it like for you trying to balance, Family Guy full time along with full time artist?
The really cool thing is, first and foremost, I am incredibly fortunate to be married to somebody who is okay with that, who's okay with like sharing time, like as far as me being gone for certain trips. I may have 4 or 5 shows that I'm playing a week, and all of those hours it takes to set up, tear down, play the shows, meet people before and after, that kind of thing. She's really been a catalyst saying, "Hey, just do it. Like if that's what you want to do, just do it." So I've been very fortunate to be married to somebody who's really cool about that. I know some guys that in the past who they had problems with a significant other because they wouldn't allow them to do certain things like that. But I got lucky with that. But I'll tell you a crazy story about being a dad, which is, um, I didn't know what I was going to do once I found out that me and my wife were going to have our daughter. I didn't know what I was going to do, and then I decided that I would send out all of these electronic press kits, EPKs, and all of these videos. I recorded videos of myself and all this other kind of stuff. I was like, man, I'm just going to try to do it on my own and try to do it and just try to do solo work and that kind of thing and to see if it happens. And I put out all of those in October of 2015. I sent out all that stuff. I mean, I didn't get one message back for months at a time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, months. I didn't get one message
Yeah.
back saying, "Hey, yeah, we want you to play," or, and I was just like, oh. And I told my wife about a month before my daughter was born. I said, "Hey, if by the time she gets here, if it's not meant to be and I'm not meant to be a musician or whatever, then I'll just go to work somewhere, no big deal. It's not a huge deal, this, that, and the other." And she was like, "Okay, well, I mean, we'll still try, afterwards." I was like, "No, I think I'm just going to leave it." The day my daughter is born, my wife is in the delivery room, and it's another part of like divine intervention for me, which is kind of weird, but it's my wife is in the delivery room, and my mom picks her head in the door and she says, "Hey, your phone is going crazy out here on the bench charging." And I was like, "Oh, okay, that's cool." I said, I tell Rachel, "I'm gonna go out and see who, maybe it's somebody, saying congratulations, it's the day of." And I get out there and there's 180 email returns
Wow.
of people wanting me to play. The day she was born.
Wow.
It is absolutely incredible. And then I come back in, I show my wife, she said, "Well, I guess you know what you need to do." And I was like, "Yeah, I guess so."
Yeah. So
So
I
I
want to
started
give some.
going up.
I want to give our listeners some perspective because a lot of our listeners are from outside of the region. We're very lucky in that
Oh, yeah.
aspect that we can show people from other areas of the world some of the talent that resides right here in East Texas. I just want to be very clear. What Clint does as a solo artist is not something that is typically very successful in our region. What rules the
No.
stages in this area are full bands, and typically they are either full band classic rock covers or full band country, and that's all usually typically that works around these areas. So, if you're
Yeah.
trying to be a solo successful acoustic unplugged kind of artist, usually you're only going to get the the rare restaurant or background music kind of stuff. And Clint has kind of changed that dynamic here in East Texas almost by himself. I want to give you credit for that because 10 years ago, when I was just coming up in this area musically and starting to pay attention, what you're doing now did not exist then. And so
No, it really didn't.
and now it does, and I want to give you credit for that because a lot of people
Man.
besides yourself are making a living now out of solo
Yeah.
music here in the area, and I give you credit for that, at least partial credit, and I think you deserve it for sure.
Well, thank you, man. I appreciate that so much,
Of
man.
course, in the same vein, though, we're talking about bookings as a solo artist and how
Right. Yeah.
incredibly difficult that is locally. So, what do you think, aside from divine intervention on the day your daughter was born, what do you think actually contributed to you getting bookings? And then, further than that, how are you getting rebookings? What is the strategy there? Because it's one thing to get a show, it's another thing for them to invite you back, right?
You're right. Right. I think that so in order to play that many shows, first and foremost is that you have to have a huge catalog of songs, whether they be your songs or whether they be covers. I also think that the reason why I get rebooked, I don't know if this is 100% true or not. I haven't really asked anybody because now I'm friends with all the venues because I earned so many years at so many venues. I've kind of like tenured them, and I've been there for a little while. But I think it's because a person can come in and do a cover, say like of a say you're going to play a George Strait song. Well, there's two ways of doing that. There's two ways of playing that song. There's the way that the record it's all, you hear it on the record. You can play it exactly like that, note for note, Nashville chords, everything ready to go. Or you could do it the way that you hear it personally as an artist, and so you do your own version of that song
Mm-hmm.
instead of it being, and you make it interesting to people if you do your own version of a certain song.
Yep.
So they can go out and watch 15 guys do it like the record because it's easy and they just look up the tabs. But what makes them kind of sit up in their seat a little bit is that you do it yourself the way that, you put your own spin on it, or, add something, or you do mashups with a bunch of different songs, or you
Yep.
do whatever else to try to get them in the door, and create a show that's really pleasing not only to um, just the country person, but like I do a mashup with like Tom Petty and Bob Marley and Ray LaMontagne all in one song. And so it's like it's one of those things. It's like people go, "Oh man, that's crazy that he could put all those in there."
Mm-hmm.
And I was going to ask for that, but I got it already. Like
Well,
that kind of thing.
essentially, it's the difference between karaoke and covers, right? Because for me personally,
Right, right,
karaoke's not very exciting if you're going to a live show. For me personally, but if I
right.
hear
Yeah,
a cover song that's done in the vein of the artist I'm listening to and not the artist that created the song originally, that's kind of a
right.
different thing, right? And so like
Yeah,
that's important, I think, in the relationship between the artist and the listener, because they didn't go there to see George Strait in your example. They went there to see Clint Alford.
right.
And so
Yeah,
Clint Alford is doing a George Strait song in Clint Alford's perspective of that song. And that's a big difference,
right.
you know?
Yeah, it makes a huge difference. Yeah.
Yeah.
It, it,
And
it
go ahead.
it's just like I take I play Superstition by Stevie Wonder. Not every single night do I do it, but when I do it, it's nothing like the record.
Right.
I mean, it is like nothing like the record. And I have people come up to me all the time, man, that's such a cool way of doing that song. It's such a cool way of doing that song. Oh man, I never even thought about doing that song like that, or this, that, and the other. I was like, well, then use it.
Yep.
Use it. You can go and use it, and you can do that for people.
Yeah.
Like
And
I don't have the copyright on it.
as a listener, for me, I like it when I'm listening to an artist and I don't know what song it is until the chorus. I mean, that's a huge compliment, right? And so,
Yeah.
like for you mentioned
It's hidden,
Superstition.
it's hidden until then.
Yeah, as a fan of yours, the two covers that really turn me on about your music is "Can't Help Falling in Love" by Elvis and "Wicked Game"
Oh
by
yeah,
Chris Isaac. The way you do those two
man.
songs.
Yeah, I love those songs, man.
Yeah, yeah. And they're nothing like the original, and that's what makes you so cool as an artist, and also what makes you so cool as a songwriter. And I think that's also kind of a preview, right, for you as an artist. Like, hey, check out my version
Right,
of this cover. If you like this, you're gonna love my original stuff. That's essentially what you're
right,
saying,
yeah,
right?
yeah. I think so. I've had a lot of younger guys. I get younger guys approaching me all the time, like, "How do you do so many shows a year?" And I said, "Man, the magic is to make your covers sound great, but do them in the same vein as you would do your music. So that way, when you do an original song, people don't even know that they think
Not,
it's a cover."
yeah, they think it's a cover, exactly right. And then they're like, "Oh my
And you're
god,
like,
you wrote that? What?" I see that at your
and then
shows all the time, bro. All the time.
yeah, yeah.
That's
It's
that's
really,
the
really
that's the
cool.
biggest compliment you can get as a songwriter, right? When somebody is
Hundred
surprised.
percent.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I see that a lot, and not just at your shows, but other songwriters that I love as well. And that's always
Oh
good
yeah.
when you're a fan of somebody because of their songwriting, and you see somebody else pop their cherry on that artist for the first time.
Yeah.
It's like, yo, I've
Yeah.
been on this bus for a long time. Welcome aboard. You know what I mean?
I've been
So
here for a minute now.
yeah, exactly right. So, full time musician, almost 10 years now. Any regrets
Yep.
on that? Any regrets on that decision?
Man, I really, really don't. I met so many wonderful people over these past 10 years. Man, it's been an incredible ride. I've been to a lot of places I honestly would have never seen if it wasn't for music. I mean, I get paid to go eat at great places,
Yep.
and like I almost want to do. I was telling my wife this the other night. I said once we have our my 10th year anniversary of being a musician, I want to start doing a almost like an online review channel for the restaurants that I play at,
That's smart.
and kind of be like, hey, this is my friend, blah 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 blah, that has this. Hey, in each city that I go, and I just stop by a certain place, like a food truck or whatever else, and do a review on it.